We are back with what was supposed to be part two of the previous video that I did, but that previous pregame breakdown went a little long because I'm just a little bit hyped for this season. But I wanted to do some over/under stat totals for some of the key players for Texas A&M this year as part of the week before the season finale, I guess. It's the off-season finale, if you want to call it that. But I'd like to get some over/unders on what these guys are going to do. So how this is going to work is I have my first guest on this channel, and he is setting the lines for us, and I'm going to go ahead and give my over-under on video, but I want you guys to give your over-unders for whatever he lists in the comments. I want to see, at the end of the year, I'm going to go back to this video and see who got it right, and I'll shout you out at the end of the year if you were right. Somehow. I'll probably throw you in the comments or something. Now I'll give you a shout out in the video. Anybody who gets it right, I will go back at the end of the year and shout you out. So make sure you comment. A little bit about the guest. Pre-recorded guest. You're not going to like him. Like, you're really not going to like him. He's my brother. He has his own YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description. I don't think you'll like it, but you should check it out, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But let's get this thing going. And I have not seen any of these except for the first one, which we use as a test. I think I know where he's going with. Just watch. You'll see what I mean.
Devonta Achain, running back, track guy, not every down back in my opinion. 1,350 yards, still dynamic. What do you think?
I think you have a lot to learn, sir, and I think you will this year. Not an every down guy. I see where you're coming from. He's a smaller guy. I'm not even reacting to your number. I'm reacting to what you said first. I mean, we'll see if he's an every down guy. I don't think he's an every down guy if you run him at linebackers and D linemen in tiny holes every single play 25 times a game. But I think if you do it strategically, you use your other running threats and get him bigger lanes and more room to run, I think you can have an every down back in Devonta Achain. But we'll see. I see what you mean, but I think you're wrong. 1,350, my goodness. You just made everybody here money. You made everybody listening to this video money. If you're setting that line, if you're Vegas, and because he's smashing that, he's gonna destroy that. I mean, that's an easy over, and I mean, he ran for 910 yards last year on 11 carries a game, behind Isaiah Spiller, with an offensive line that struggled for half the year. I mean, he's at least getting that. I mean, if he got 1,350 this year, I would be slightly disappointed, depending on the way everything shakes out. I mean, maybe he has dynamic backups and he barely has to play. Whenever he plays, he just touches the ball and scores or something like that. But 1,350 being the main guy, I just don't see that being competitive. You know, that's a clear over. Vegas lost. You lost. Horns down. What else you got, boy? I'll scooch over.
Evan Stewart, great player. Should have been a Longhorn. Won't go there, though. 850 yards. That's a lot in the Jimbo offense, but I think he's good enough to do it.
There's so much shade. That's a lot for the Jimbo offense. I mean, if you look at that Florida State team that won it all, he had some stars at receivers. Anyway, what was the number he said? I don't even remember. Did you say 800 yards? We're going to have to go back. Hold on.
Evan Stewart, great player. Should have been a Longhorn. Won't go there, though. 850 yards. That's a lot in the Jimbo offense, but I think he's good enough to do it.
850. That is a high marker. That's a high number for a true freshman. Now, the question I brought up last video was, can you have a true freshman play enough to where he can make that kind of impact? We know he's going to make an impact. But with his body being so young in the SEC, how many drives off will he have to take a game? How much blow will he need a game? Will he need to take every other drive off, every couple drives off? I mean, what's that going to look like? Or is he just way ahead of schedule as far as body development and maturity that he can play enough to get 850 yards? You're breaking in a new quarterback. He's a true freshman. Offensive line, I'm confident will improve, but how good will it be, especially early on? I'm sure it'll take a few games to really get to where it could be. God dang, 850. I'm going to go under. Very slight under. I think he's at the 800 range, 700 to 800 range, and I think we'd be very happy about that from a true freshman. Good number there. I'd be curious to see if any of you guys go over on that. What else you got?
Haynes King, back from injury. He's my best friend as a Longhorn fan. I think Jimbo picked the wrong quarterback. I'm going to go 2,700 yards passing for Haynes King. What do you think?
I think that's an over right there. And I mean, he's my brother. I know some of his takes. This guy does not believe in Haynes King. This guy watched one highlight game of Haynes King on YouTube on his iPhone and claims that Haynes King is terrible at football. I mean, he calls himself an expert, but all he has is a YouTube channel. Anyway, that's an over easily. I think Haynes King can get to 3,000 yards this year within this offense. I see it. I think he's better than Kellen Mond. I mean, I really do. But we have to see it first. He showed a lot of promise versus Kent State.
Anaya Smith, good player in the past, but he needs a big year this year in terms of draft positioning. So I'm going to say 950 total yards. I think he has a big year. 950 total all-purpose yards for Anaya Smith. What do you think?
That's a good number. It's competitive. I see you're high on Anaya Smith. Most are, and it's kind of funny because he has shown some of the best skill set, although he has had some of the lower numbers for a guy with his much praise. And I think a lot of that is due to, well, last year was supposed to be his best year yet, and offensive issues. 950 all-purpose. I think he hits that. I'm going to go over on that because we know without Spiller being without that big hefty every down back, and I know I'm agreeing with you that Anais isn't an every down back. I think we're getting caught up in the terminology here, but I don't think you bang Achain up the middle as much as you did Spiller. So with that being said, I think you have to use the threat of Anais running as leverage to create more holes for Achain to hit, to not have to go through that SEC front seven. So yeah, I think Anais will be more involved in the run game this year than he ever has been. I think they're going to find any way possible to get him the ball. They've been protecting him all camp and for most of spring, though he's been available. He's been nicked up, but I think if he's playing a game, he's going to play the game. It's just practice nicked up, and he's a star. So 950 all-purpose. If you're counting punting and kickoff returns, that's easy. That's all day, but I'm not going to count that. So rushing and receiving, 950, I'm hitting the over for Anais.
The Aggies star defensive backs, Antonio Johnson. I think I'm going to put him at 65 total tackles over and under. What do you like there? I think he's a good player. And then Damani Richardson, I think 2.5 interceptions. So
Ooh.
2 or 3 is where he's going to be at, in my opinion. What do you think?
Ooh, those are some good ones. Good job there. You're getting better. You sucked at first, but now you're better. Okay. So 65. He got either 52 or 53 last year. But what changes this year? What is different? I mean, he's going to get better, but he was damn good last year. And he's at the nickel. He's not a safety, so he doesn't have free reign over the field necessarily. So he's kind of funneled down to whichever side the nickel's playing, rather than being kind of the safety. But I think he might play a little more safety this year in DJ Durkin's system. And I think if DJ Durkin happens to use 3 linebacker more, I think you put him out there at the other safety spot next to Damani instead of taking him off the field if you're not running nickel. So it's hard to say going into a new defensive scheme. 65. I was saying 60. I was thinking he could hit 60. Oh my goodness. I have a feeling it's going to be like 62, 61. I'm going to go under. And it's obviously no hate because as a DB, getting 60 tackles is ridiculous. So I'm going to go slight under, maybe even a push on this one. I just think that's like right at the range, but I think he hits right under that. So if you put that at 62, I would have been more inclined to go over, but I think you're right on it. So good one there. Damani, I think we like need this from him. We need more picks from Damani. He's had one versus Bama twice, and I'm trying to think if he's had another one besides those. I know he had the forced fumble that should have been a forced fumble versus LSU. I don't even know why I'm bringing that up. Shut up, Drew. He's had at most one a year, and that's it. And you're setting it at 2.5. And I remember last year he was saying he needed to get more, but he still only got one. So is this the year he finally does it, or is Damani just Damani? He's just a steady piece that doesn't really get his hands on the ball that much. I'm a big believer in Damani, so I'm going to hit the over. I think he can get 3 INTs this year. I think without Leon there, I think you need to rely on this guy to get his hands on more balls because Leon can get his hands on balls. So I'm going to go over on that one. I'm going to go under on Antonio. I'm very confident in both of these players regardless. All right, this is his last over-under. Let's see what he went with.
Bijan Robinson, 3,000 yards, Heisman.
I don't know what that means. Oh, my God. Under. He sucks. You suck. You're going to win 5 games. Goodbye.